my usual partner in crime when it comes to our webinars is currently sunning himself somewhere in Sweden. Actually, I don't know if it's sunny in Sweden. I doubt that, but he is not here because we have day jobs. So myself and Lee took it upon ourselves to have a go at this thing anyway. So apologies if we're not quite the polished duo, but we're doing our best there, aren't we, mate? We're having a go, different down in our relevant.
We are, mate. Please bear with us. We will cut to the chase very shortly.
Exactly. We'll have a go. And as Lee said, what we're trying to do today, or what we felt was a good idea to do today, was to really come back to brass tacks on document management. It's not the most exciting topic in the world in terms of the actual nuts and bolts of the technology. But what we really realize in both in talking to vendors and people that work in different geographies and stuff, and also talking to some customers and really changing out how we present. And we have realized that we do quite a lot of end user conversations and a lot of end user presentations, and things that we perhaps had thought too simplistic or too basic for customers to actually be interested in. We did a revisit, took a look, and realized that actually they're really quite effective. And sometimes, as I've written in my little thing there, less really is more, because it means that we can deploy things quicker and we can start on lower commercial terms. And sometimes, strangely, that actually works in bigger organizations as well. So we thought we'd have a poke of it today, just remind you. And frankly, it's nice to be talking to people in the world. We don't get out very much, so anymore, so it's nice to actually just be making ourselves heard a little minute. So let's just have a quick look at it. Why are we doing it? We all start with why. Why are we doing it? Why is SelectTech building out a portfolio of doc management, workflow type products? Why are we doing that? Well, I'm not going to dwell on this because it's actually an old slide now and the data may have changed, but I liked it because firstly I had it and didn't need to make another one, but also because things have moved around. But we are seeing at the moment, in terms of hardware sales and volume of documents and things that need to be addressed, or other products that we might be wanting to build into customer agreements. We're not saying don't sell hardware by any stretch of the imagination. Where you can, please do. We still love you for it. We still sell paper cut. We still manage print just like you do. But what we're trying to do is to build out our offering to offer more solutions and really get deeper into our customers. For me, anyone who's worked with me over the years knows I am the worst new business salesperson in the world. So for me, it was about how much value I can get from existing business. And these type of products, these ECM workflow type tools, are a great example. And at the moment, I don't want to mention the dreaded stock and supply chain issues, but we do know that a bunch of resellers right now don't necessarily have as much hardware at their disposal as they might like. So being able to fill the gap or the time before those constraints loosen with some other product that you can make money from is possibly a good idea. And of course, maybe means you can start a different conversation with those customers. But ultimately, we are doing this because the world is changing and we want to make sure that we've still got product and we're still relevant. So that's why we're doing it. And I did think about pushing lots of high glossy graphs and market trends and everything else. But over the period of time, 4 particular statistics have become very useful with customers. And only 3 of them really were relevant today. The 4th was around data, GDPR problems and things like that. But these really are critical. When we're talking to end users, document management has historically been very, very task focused. Let's focus entirely on accounts payable or entirely on HR onboarding, and you really need to get very, very granular and understand from a sales perspective just how complex those processes can be, and they really can be. But there's plenty of organizations out there that are starting from a very, very low base. Either they're very small, or they've just never really looked at it, or they don't feel that things are going to work, and so on. But you don't need to smack straight into these complex things. And these figures here, we're borne out time and time again when we talk to end users. They nod, they agree, this is right. So 35% of all files on a usual user's network are misfiled or lost. So what we mean by that is they are misfiled by the fact that they are named incorrectly. So there's no way you can apply rules on what you call a file on a Windows network, really, or they're in physically the wrong place. Think about if your business process that you used to use on paper, where you printed it out and then you gave it to Dave and he approved it by scribbling on it with a Sharpie and so on, if that has now gone electronic and it's washed into your email process, then you need to email it to yourself and then go file save as, and you might duplicate it, or you might put it in the wrong folder, or you might type the name wrong, or then you can't find it, so you just save it from your email again. And by the time all that process has gone across, 35% of everything on your network is either named not how you want it or is in the wrong place. And that means that it gets duplicated. And I really should change the order of these bullet points. But the behavior then is, I can't find it. Let's go back to the original document that I got from somewhere, or worse, a version which was incorrect or something, and refile that one, which is why we land up with so much duplication. And we reckon that anything between 10 and 30% of all the records out there are actually duplicates. And as just a way, as a nice little way to talk about that, anyone who's done a webinar with me will know that I can't type. I've been in an IT type role for coming on 25 years, or however old I am now. How old am I now, Lee? I'm just about 111 to 12, I think. I'm, certainly feeling
I think you
like
are, mate. And you definitely only type with 2 fingers, much like my good self.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think anything more than that's just greedy. But as an exercise, guys, to just find this out, it's a conversation starter. I can't type. Can you type? Well, even professional typists, if such a thing still exists, and I'm not sure it does, but even if such a thing still exists, 8% data entry is actually a fairly acceptable level of data entry. Little test for yourself. Create a spreadsheet and try and type your driving license number into 10 concurrent boxes without error and see how long it takes you. And then try and do it time and time again and see how that goes on. And that is a nice equivalent of typing in invoice numbers from suppliers without structure. They're not words, you can't recognize them, and that kind of thing. So these figures here, they're not specific. You don't need to know about accounts payable. You don't need to know about HR or GDPR. These are facts, these are things. If a customer does not have a tool to organize their documents, this is what they are generating or living with on a daily basis. Kind of is. So, other thing to talk about with document management, a lot of our resellers who are like us from a print background, we talk about pages, they really still think about document management from a scanning perspective. But we all love a sale when it gives us a cost benefit. Well, maybe we can do those pages cheaper, Mr. Customer, or maybe we can, reduce this. I mean, ultimately, we sold PaperCut based on its ability to reduce print costs. But most of the documents that we used to talk about scanning into document management never actually touch paper. A lot of, there was a stat before the pandemic about the fact that 80% of all invoices printed were actually only printed to be scanned because users didn't have a way to safely digitize them. So now we've got the ability to take documents out of things like email or electronic feeds and bits, which gives you a cost benefit element. But certainly in terms of running a reseller as well, it can be more profitable to process a document from an email than actually put the toner in the machine to get that back print. So there's lots of different ways of looking at it, but those real core efficiencies are stopping users needing to move documents in and out of platforms. So really have a think about that. What happens if I don't need to engage the user in creating pieces of paper to become efficient? Start changing from pages to documents because they don't need to be on paper. And you really can help them with that. And one of the reasons to highlight that is the sheer number of emails being pushed around. Now, I try and put the little links where I get the stats from. I realized I didn't have the link for the stats on the duplication and stuff, but this is kind of interesting. It's kind of a couple of years out of date now, and we think that this has really increased. But the top number is the estimated number of business emails now hitting the world, if you like, on an annual basis, but they think that's growing exponentially. And the bottom number is the number of emails an administration business user may field in one day. 121 different transactions. And you've got to bear in mind that every transaction remains in their inbox and somebody else's outbox, and then the file that they duplicate that they then lose because they've typed it wrong. And this is actually a really big thing. Can you complete 121 tasks in a day with a document with no rules? Will you make mistakes? And the answer, unfortunately, is very much yes. Okay, so if you start thinking about all of those areas, all of those things that you can talk about to get customers nodding, what are we going to talk about in terms of this? And generally, sales guys at this point start thinking, oh no, Damien's going to go off and bang on about a really complicated piece of software, and it's going to be fine, but it's going to be £1 billion, and my customer's going to turn off, and it's going to take months to deploy. So actually, yeah, no, let's go off and think about something else. But in this case, I'm hoping not. I'm hoping we can demonstrate that there's a fast way to engage these guys with something super simple. So we are going to talk, as Lee introduced at the beginning, we're going to spend our time today on Square 9. We do have other products, just in famous BBC terms, other brands are available. We have our wonderful folder product that we do different things with. We have capture engines from different stuff. We even have components that we can bolt into other favorite toys like Papercut to make this stuff available. But today we're going to talk about Square 9 Softworks because, well, quite frankly, we love it. It's a great product from a bunch of Americans. Square 9 itself is 15 years old. Now, actually, I think it's birthday month. The organizers of, or the founders of Square 9 have known each other longer than that, but Square 9 is now still headquartered on the East Coast of the US in New Haven, Connecticut. They have somewhere around 90 to 100 employees and tens of thousands of organizations, which results in even more tens of thousands of users working on a daily basis. We love them because we've got a really great support, kind of a relationship with them, and we can develop the products, and we do quite a lot of custom work with it, and it's very flexible because unlike a lot of products in this category or vendors in this category, they give us all of the components we need to do any kind of workflow or document management project within one vendor suite. So we have a really strong capture tool. We have a workflow tool that allows us to take documents and files from one place or multiple places, recognize them and put them somewhere. So we have a really powerful workflow capture engine. In terms of alignments, this is akin to something like an AutoStore product or a more simple end of it, a Drive product. But very, very flexible, fast to deploy, lots of benefits to it, and can be used standalone. We've got GlobalSearch. Now, this is document management as you might think of it. This is the repository that we put our documents in to be able to find them, to give them the right data, to apply rules on who can and can't see and where they can go. If you like, it's our bucket for our documents and our files, but that bucket has a lid, and we can make sure that only the right stuff goes in and only the right stuff comes out with the right people taking it out. And then once we've got stuff in our document bucket, we can do things with it, because if you start with one small thing, customers will come back and ask for more, which is another reason we're in this category. Remember that thing I said about new business versus existing customers? Well, this for us is the way that we grow it. I've got this stuff in the bucket. I'd really like to know if automatically things can happen for me. And most recently for us, e-forms or web forms. We know now that bits of paper were being generated so people could tick boxes on them or scribble them or highlight stuff and things like that. And they give you, unfortunately, documents that are hard to work with. But now we can put them into electronic form so people can do things with it, and then we can take what is a lovely created digital file into a workflow process. So e-forms. Now, these four categories and this vendor are fairly unusual because all of them look and feel and come as one kind of one menu list from one person for simplicity. And that means if you put any or one of these products into your customer, you have the opportunity to grow it. And we like that. So I think, if it's right with you, Lee, we're actually going to poke it. We're going to take a look at a little bit of Square 9, but we're going to do it really, really quickly. We're just going to, not dwell on anything and just take a bit of a look. So I'm going to stop the screen share.
Damo, please do. Yes, please do show us some more.
Some more, really. honestly. I can see you shuddering as you actually asked me to do that. Right? Okay. So now you should be able to see the Square 9 website in a Windows machine. Usual caveat, guys, I am running a Windows virtual machine on my Mac. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm a Mac user, and every time I touch Windows, a small part of my soul dies. But for you guys, I'm going to rough it. I'm gonna risk it. But that does mean that because I'm running a WebEx and now I'm recording it as well, things might be a little bit slower in performance of this machine. So I apologize for that. We've got a lot going on in the shed today on the little laptop, but hopefully we'll get through it. Good place to start, the Square 9 website. Feel free, guys, to go and take a look. Square-9.com if you haven't been there already. Documents in, knowledge out. And you'll see at the bottom is representing those 4 components. And generally, and this is a bit of a hint, one of the things we've learned, because we make mistakes and we try and learn by them, and then what we learn, we try and tell you. In managed print world, copier world, old guys like me still refer to this as copier world or print world, whatever you want to call it, there is a real temptation to lead every conversation with document capture because, as I said, we were welded to those pieces of paper and still are. Unfortunately, the world has changed and we now work with different pieces, and I think Lee and I can both agree that we get more traction out of talking to people about what happens when I take those documents and put them somewhere safe and cuddly. And that for us is GlobalSearch, the Enterprise Content Management, or ECM, or Document Management Repository. So we are going to start by looking at GlobalSearch. All right, so little piece here. This is a little bit nerdy for the sales guys in here. For the technical guys, they're shaking their heads and asking how this actually works and what the bones of it. This isn't that session, guys. This isn't a technical session. This is a concept session. So there we go. But just a little bit of a nod to what it is. You will notice that I am using GlobalSearch via a web browser. And I can say in Select Tech, we exclusively use GlobalSearch via a browser. There is a Windows client. You could install a thick bit of software if you like, a fat client. We don't use it and we don't really feel the need to. And that means that you can have GlobalSearch either as a premise license, you can install it on the customer's own data center or on their own servers. In fact, we have this, ours is running production and it's under a desk in Basingstoke, I believe. Or you can have it as a fully hosted offering. And that's another unique thing with Square 9 is it's just as simple to have one as the other. And certainly there are other tools in this category at the moment which really make it quite difficult to go with the premise offering. And the one thing around that is if you are going on premise, because that's what the customer prefers, and there are plenty of document management customers that do, you can really get a lot more flexibility with the products that you can use, not just ours, with anyone's, because the minute it's on premise, you've got a lot more control. So a web, a web appearing tool that can be in the cloud or on the customer's site, or indeed a mixture of both. And that's kind of interesting. So there we go. I'm going to sign in if I can remember, and I think we've already covered off that I can't type. And we're going to come into the GlobalSearch environment, and you'll see that this is a super, super simple thing. Now, I am currently signed in as an administrator, so I've got lots of noise and mess and things going on here, but we will talk about how different users use it. And I'm going to do something really simple because let's just do this. I've got nothing set up, I'm not doing anything, and I'm going to pop out this piece. Yeah, in fact, I'm going to do that. I'm just going to say, do you know what, guys? Show me any accounts payable records that need me to interact with them. I'm going to push one button and it's going to show me my accounts payable documents. And anyone who deals with this stuff knows that documents need to be coded. So we've got to search one button and it's showing me the documents that I have. We'll talk about how they get there in a little minute, but they're showing me the documents that I have that need interaction. I need, in this case, to apply general ledger codes to them. So anyone who does get involved in accounts payable, yeah, we can code documents from here. But let's pack this away and do something even more simple, okay? So without doing anything, I'm going to pick up an invoice right here, and I'm going to open my archive, otherwise I can't drop it. I've got a document management thing, I've got an invoice, I've got no complicated capture engines or anything else running, and I'm literally just going to drag and drop it and dump it over the top. Now, as I said, my system's running a little bit slowly, so apologies for that. But there's a little lightning bolt, and this lightning bolt exists in the top corner of any Square 9 window, okay? It's called key-free indexing, and it allows us to do this really quickly. Okay, I'm going to say that this one's a supplier invoice, and I'm going to start simply clicking on the data that I want. System's even going to start telling me where that data may be because it knows the shape of it. So it knows my purchase order numbers are 8 characters. It knows what my dates look like. And you can see I can drag down here and I can very quickly put my financial details in, and it knows their decimal. So it's clearing out the characters I don't want. I could GL code it if I want to, for the people who know about accounts payable. And I could quite happily say, do you know what? This one here is pending. And we get asked about line item extraction. Line item extraction is horribly expensive, but not just with us, with anyone. In fact, I don't think ours is horribly expensive. We can certainly do things, but it's complicated. So without any complexity, I'm doing this. And you can see that I am quite neatly capturing all of the line categories as well. So from not seeing a document, not doing anything, I've now indexed that file away, and I can click save. That document is now stored. I can close it out. And now when I refresh this thing, there we go. Let's just go into it and punch it. I should now have another supplier invoice. You can see there's my £20,000 invoice with no VAT. You can see that I have purchase orders, I have PODs, I have all of the documents that I would need to decide whether it's at. And I can quite merrily pop it out, so I could compare the information that's there if I want to. And let's actually open up the document as well, because the next thing someone's going to ask is, well, I want to do a 3-way match. I want to know what's going on. So let's do that. Let's actually say, right, okay, I'm in here. Let's just 3-way match it. All right, so happy days. It's now showing me that I have the invoice with a purchase order number there. I have a purchase order against it, which I can compare, and I have a delivery note. So I can see what's on that document as well, should I want to. So you can see I can pop that out and make sure that those things match. So if I wanted to, from there, super simple process, I could put all of those documents together, see that the data matches, and then throw that out for an approval process. Super simple. I don't need to do anything. Now, what's interesting about that process, I've used accounts payable as one example, because about 80% of all of our inquiries involve accounts payable. I did not need a complicated capture engine. I did not need a complicated template engine. I've got full line item extraction if I might want to. And now I could do something around working with that file. Okay, so let's be a different user for a little minute. Okay, let's pop in and be a I've got to type again, Lee. This is kind of scary. Here we go. It's going on.
I am a little bit concerned for you with the typing. But,
we're doing all right. We're doing all right. Okay. Maggie, hey, there we go. I broached 3-finger typing then. It got a bit scary. There we go. There we are. All right. And now, funny enough, I'm another user. All right. And you can see here that she's a documents to approve at 2,000 quid or less, because Maggie May, she only looks after approving documents that with a certain value, and you know what, there's nothing in there that requires that because there's nothing set to pending right now. Okay, but if I am the person that sets those values up, let me do this. There we go. Supplier invoices, you'll see that they are not pending because I have not done what I was supposed to do. So now I'm going to do this and say that one, I'm happy with that, I'm happy with that, I'm happy with that. They're all now pending approval. Yeah, going to save that across. Come on, keep up with me. Going to do that. And now when Maggie May punches her button, hopefully she has got a few documents, and there they go. They're pending approval, and they're below £2,000 because that's her approval limit. And she could quite merrily, if she wants to, pop that document out. She could quite happily, if she wants to, go into the full fat viewer and annotate it and stick stamps on it and do other bits and pieces. Or she could, if she wants to, just quite merrily say, yeah, that one's pending approval, and make it disappear, because she has the ability to do that. Now let's log out and log in as someone a bit more special. Oh man, Jack, I still told you I can't type me. Yeah, 1082. There we go. It says me can't type in my password. There we are. Oh, come on. Gonna pop out a new window because I broke it. There we go. All right. And it just show you that different users see different things. And here we go. Going to be the AV manager. If I can type the password in without breaking everything. There we are. Got to have passwords, all secure, isn't it? All right, and you'll see that I come into this, I'm only here to approve my invoices, or it could be a HR task, it could be anything else. Everything's super simple, and I just punch my one button, and there are the documents that I need. That's it. I can say, am I happy? I could do whatever. You've seen we could do a three-way match. I could look at bits and pieces as well. And without even needing to open the full file up, I could say that one's approved. Yeah, wait for it to save. Thanks very much, bit slow on my system, as I've said. There we go. Come on. And turn that edit piece off, and the document disappears from my list. Now, I could take this a lot further. I could build automations. I could build anything else out that I might like. Let's refresh these values. Should be one approved in there now with a GL code. And that document there. So let's actually just build out this and say, as an administrator, I only want to see approved invoices. There we go. And I would actually like to roll that file out, and I would like to export it and send it to there we go, export with data, there we are, blah, 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 and send it to where I need to save it for Sage or whatever. It might be Zero, might be Sage, might be anything, might be any of those pieces. And then I punch, there we go, let's do that, let's do that, and let's do that. And my invoice data has now been exported. The export is complete. Everything is run. I can now import it to my accounts payable package, and away it goes. I started with accounts payable because a lot of people ask about this, but generally what that means is capturing data and running complex processes. Well, without any of that, just GlobalSearch straight out of the box, key-free indexing, line items, very simple approval processes. I can match documents across the whole thing, share them for approval with different people. I could even share them externally if I wanted to with the supplier themselves. I could annotate them. I could do any of those pieces. So if you are, processing 50 or 20, 50, 100 invoices a day, well, certainly 20, 50, key-free indexing and a really simple GlobalSearch type deal, which you can deploy literally in a matter of minutes. Okay, and I'll show you how in a bit. That's really enough to get you moving. And the great thing is, rather than it being a 3-month project and super costly and all of those good things, you can get this thing moving really quickly. We will talk a little bit about commercials as well at the back end of this WebEx. But that's just one piece, because of course our standard build works in different things. So they're going to get GlobalSearch. Yeah, we could use it for accounts payable or accounts receivable, and lots of people go that way. I might have a small legal practice or a small finance practice where I want to stick some client files in there. I want to do some stuff around that. And again, we can do that. And let's take a look on a few pieces that happen when we put some GlobalSearch in place. Because every word on every page, suddenly, if you can type, there you go, becomes searchable. There we go. So now if I'm looking simply for chocolate stuff, you can see that if I dump it in, I've got a supplier invoice with it, which I can see actually matches. So I know I bought something with chocolate in it. I know I've got an invoice for it, and I know I've got a proof of delivery. What I can't find there is I haven't got a purchase order. So what on earth was I buying? Gives me a view. And if I take a look on that, you can see that it said hit, and that's telling me how many times in a document a thing occurs. And it's even going to tell me where it is. And if this was a 50-page contract and I was looking for the contract terms and I was looking for dates or I was looking for particular products or things like that, I could quite merrily put those values in this search here and search and have the document, the system take me through and find the different things that I'm looking for. You can see it's highlighting out there, and it will walk me through the pages. So now I've got my field information, I've got key-free indexing, and every word on every page suddenly becomes searchable. And as you can see, I can also change the permissions of a document, who can see what, simply based on those searches. Maggie May, she couldn't see any invoices until they'd been classified as pending for approval. And then they suddenly popped into her queue. but she couldn't see any documents with a value over £2,000. And nobody needed to change the permissions of those files or put them in the right place or drag and drop into the right folder or name them correctly or even email them to her. They simply needed to put the actual data and we could apply the rules. And that's where ECM comes in. Don't forget, 35% of all files are mismatched or named or duplicated and sent in the wrong direction. So there is a real problem around this. Okay. So let's come back, let's close out a couple of bits and pieces and see what else we might be able to do with this. So here's a little thing. I'm going to stick on the accounts payable piece because lots of people say, well, actually, I've got accounts payable software. I use Xero or I use Sage or I'm using SAP or I'm with Microsoft Dynamics or I've got an ERP by the likes of Merlin or, pick one. Other systems are available. Even I need to mine stuff from HubSpot or Salesforce or any of those kind of things. Doesn't really matter. In this case, I've actually got an inquiry from somebody and it's actually just in an email. So if I was looking at a Xero accounting page or a Merlin ERP page or an online billing portal for somebody, and I wanted to use a value either in a box in the screen or in the body of an email or text, I can create searches in a little tool that switches on the desktop, and it's going to integrate between what I'm doing and where I am. So let's see if this is actually going to run for me. I'm going to click on the value I want. It's going to draw me a little box, and in the background, you should see that GlobalSearch has gone off. It's taken that purchase order number in this case, and it's run me a search. It gives me all the look and feel of integration without any of the pain of integration. It's a thing called image exchange, and it can work both on premise and on cloud. And it means that if you've got a customer that's got a cloud service and they want a cloud document management service, you can bolt those two things together without needing any pain. Max has raised his hand, I think, Lee. I don't know if you can see that.
I think that was from earlier, mate. I don't know whether Max has anything additional to add there, but I think that was from earlier.
That was from earlier. Sorry, I'll lower my hand.
Would you please? Marvelous. Thanks very much. All right. Now, we have played a lot with invoices today, and we've moved stuff around. I'm going to throw a couple of other pieces in there in the sense I'm just going to remind you of this piece. At the moment, I did everything manually. I dragged it in and I indexed it super quick, and you could see how fast that was. And for those small users, that there means that they can be working on this. And even for big users where we're going to use capture automation, which by the way, we have in spades, this is Global Capture. I'm not going to do a big demo of Global Capture today. Suffice to say that these are the type of workflows that we can build, and lots of Lego bricks and nerdery going on in here. But basically, we go and get your invoices. That's what that green section, that green bubble means. We go and get the files that you want to process. Then we recognize them, apply a whole bunch of rules, and then send them where they need to be. Automation. So all the thing that we did by dragging and dropping that file on super quickly and then archiving it away, you can do that automatically. You can have that bolt on because we've got those 4 components that you can simply add. Just add the bits that you want. But a lot of people, including myself, overlook the power of that drag and drop key-free indexing piece. Because the market will say, yes, you can do full automation, but actually I'm going to need to template out my documents. I'm going to need to build a capture workflow. I'm going to need to do this. So even if you've got a customer that is going to go that extra mile, they want the automation piece. What you can do with GlobalSearch and key-free indexing in this super simple, fast way is get this in and get them working on it from day one. We don't need them to be worrying about, they can be getting value out of this, and we can take away that file save as rename type stuff straight away. They can be gaining value literally from day one. And we know that we can integrate in a loose way between any backend system, any piece of content, from searching within an email to clicking on the customer name in your ERP or your account system, or clicking on an invoice number or something in your manifesting system, anything you might want to do. But you get a whole bunch of other stuff in here as well. We can power this stuff to run things like, let's take a HR example. Now, as you know, I'm signed in as an administrator here because, well, quite frankly, I've got got a bit of a God complex, I think, so I want to play with everything. But you'll see if I come in here, okay, I have quite a lot of HR records, and all 3 of them, and you can see different things by different employees. What if I wanted to be able to share those, or make them, available to managers, or make them available to team leaders, or if I wanted a nice way to bring in expense reports and be able to see who's done what? Well, this is another category it's included. This is a thing called Business Essentials that Square 9 give us. This structure, if you like, of an accounts payable, receivable, some contracting stuff, we'll touch, some HR, some different bits. This is a pre-built template that gives us everything we want. And just to show how powerful that can be, let's go back in as our good friend Maggie. Here we go again with the typing. All right, Square 9 web, there we are. All right, well, I'm going to be Maggie. Quite why I chose to be Maggie May, I don't even think it was me. I think actually it came from Square 9 with their training materials. This is one of the usernames that they use. So I'm not sure it's me wanting to be that. But you'll see when Maggie signs in, let's close all this stuff. She doesn't need all the noise. She's just got a thing that says find my records. And in this case, that should be hooked up to her, to the Square, the HR department, and she can see the files that actually work for her. One of which I was looking at in here, because I was looking, come on, my mouse is lagging behind me. Here we are. Let's change a value. There we go. Let's do this. Let's, like I said, got a God complex. Oh, it doesn't want to behave for me today. There we are. I've typed that badly, which was always going to happen. There we are. And I'm going to give that a click and let that save. There you go. And now with Maggie, if I refresh that, you'll see one of her documents has disappeared. We haven't changed it. We haven't renamed it. We haven't dragged it to a different file. We haven't done anything else. All of the things that cause that 35% duplication and loss, we haven't done any of those things. But what we have done is made it that Maggie cannot interact with that document. So think about the processes that could go with that. HR, Maggie joins us as a lowly employee. She can only see her records because she only has access to a search that says find my records. But turns out Maggie's a bit of a genius. So she soon climbs the heady corporate ladder and becomes team leader. So now she would gain access to a search that says, show me, she's in marketing, I think Maggie with a name like that, show me the marketing files. And there they are. And then she climbs even further and becomes a director. And suddenly she has all my access, all my God level stuff of being able to go anywhere and everywhere. So rather than changing the file structure, rather than granting access and file rename, rather than using email as a document management system, which shudder, we are all doing, and it's growing exponentially, 293 billion emails a year and growing. She's got a very structured, very quick, very easy drag and drop, key freeable SQL backend that's doing this stuff and making sure that works. Okay. So let's close out and actually be an administrator all over again. Let's do this. I'm sorry about putting some paper cut in front of you. That was a total mistake. There we are. Let's try something else that we could do with this, because how many people that are creating Word documents have wrong versions? So small organization, what are you doing? Well, we get a customer and we create a contract and we've got a template in Word or Excel, and then we send, we kind of print that out and we send it to them. It's messy. And how many of those are using the wrong versions of their contracts and saving them to the wrong place, or not managing them correctly, or have no control on where they want to be? So within Square 9, we have stuff called version control. So I'm actually going to look at a contracts thing here. And again, this is all within the primary, just the core product. Okay. And I'm not going to do anything clever. I'm just going to search on it. And I've got a couple of different ones. So here I go. I'm going to open one up now. I'm not sure how clear it is on your screen. I'm using a subset myself, but those are not PDF icons. They're little Word icons, which means that if I am, come on, let's get that to open. There we go. Windows VM doesn't like doing certain things for me. So if I'm a company and I'm kind of trying to get the basis to my contracts correct, and I want to really know what's going on, and I want to make sure everyone's working on the right version. And by the way, we've got stats about the number of contracts and the amount of loss in terms of revenue and business that having the wrong contracts actually sends out. How many of you have sent an email recently that maybe had the wrong version of something, or recently, in fact, you know, have sent the wrong thing to the wrong person, which is what accounts, by the way, for 15% of all GDPR fines is badly addressed emails. Do not underestimate the power of bad email. Okay, and you can see here that within Square 9, I've got my maintenance agreement, and I'm an administrator. I need to make a change to it, so I'm going to pop it out. And at the bottom of my screen, it's opened that neatly for me in Word. And I'm going to just do an update. I'm going to change version 1.0. Thanks very much. And I'm actually going to save that. Thanks a lot. It's going to upload it back in there. Okay. And it's going to refresh the view. And what you might have seen a moment ago was that we were on version 3 of that document, and now we're on version 4. It's rendering that, so I can't break it as an employee. I can't do anything else. But from here, if I had permissions, I could print it, so I could get an access to it and maybe even just fill in these elements, or indeed export it so I could do something with it. And if I really needed to, I realized that version 1 isn't any good. I can bounce it back straight away to the version piece that I have before. Now, think about the duplications, the version control side of that. I don't know which version of what I'm looking at. I'm generating a sales contract or a tender or an RFQ or whatever it is that I might be looking at. And suddenly I now have tools to make sure that I'm at the right level of that agreement. And let's take it a little bit further, because I might want to interact now with, let's say, a sales team. So I'm going to save that. Going to bounce it back to that version. I didn't like version 1 anyway. Didn't have any significant benefit for me. And I'm going to do something different with it. I'm going to launch it out. Okay, it's in Word again down here. And I'm going to do something slightly different with it. I'm going to say that this is today. Okay, and I am going to sell some software to my good friends at Selectech because they are lovely. Yeah, I'm not going to fill anything else because my typing's terrible. But now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to say, let's print it. Where's print gone? There it is. You can tell that I do lots of printing. And I'm going to choose to print that to GlobalSearch. There we go. And I'm just going to say print very much. Here's my Selectech contract. And in a little minute, it's going to pop up. It might take a little second, as I've said, because there we go. Oh, there we are. I'm going to say this is contract status pending. And it is Selectech. There we go. And the contract start date, I'm just going to put today. I'm hoping that doesn't break it. And with like a 60-month contract, who doesn't, right? And let's say that this is actually the service agreement, and this is our show and tell. There we go. And I'm going to save it. Thanks very much. And that document now should go off and launch itself and do whatever it needs to be. And so actually I can close that. Yeah, I don't want to save it because I don't want to break my version in there. But even if I did, I could roll it back to wherever I wanted it to be. Thanks very much. And you can see that it hasn't affected my basic sample there. And now let's take another look and see exactly what's going on in those sales documents. Let's see whether my process worked. Run that search. And now I've got Selectech's contract. I've got the contract terms, the details, where it came from, who set it up, whether it's pending, because it needs to go to him. Let's go back and be Maggie over here. Maggie doesn't want lots of options, but we know that she deals with contracts that need pending to go out to be signed by people, and away they go. And that's going to open that up there. And she could even, if she wanted to, come into this thing. Come on, let's highlight it and say, open that document, because it was on my list of things to deal with. And hopefully it will open in a little moment. There we go. Okay. And suddenly the things that I'm allowed to do are in here. It's a very long contract, I would say. We don't take anything lightly here at Selectech. Should have perhaps come with a shorter one. And I could search around it for the contract stuff if I wanted to. So let's see. If I wanted to actually hunt around, as you know, there it is. We can see it. But if I wanted to, I could also start to put some amendments in here. I could stamp things, redact things, highlight things, even put a signature panel in. Or if I've got permissions to do it, and I haven't got it switched on in my demo, I could even bounce this out to a DocuSign environment, so I could send it off to be signed. But more importantly, I could export it to an email address or simply bash it out to the customer straight away. What's important about this from our perspective is all Maggie needed to do was say, show me pending contracts. And once again, we don't change anything, but if I actually edit this record as someone with the rights to do it, get rid of that, it is no longer pending. There we go, turn that off, and lo and behold, it disappears from Maggie's view. So now I've got the ability to do contracts management with version control or even process control. I can search on the content of those contracts. Maybe I want to find terms, maybe I want to do other things. I'd like something which very simply enables me to do basic processes like approvals for accounts payable. And I need a bunch of metadata in there, but I don't really want, I want to either be able to use it immediately whilst I'm waiting for my capture solution to become mature enough and be deployed and delivered, or I would like to be, I don't want the cost of that, or I want lots of different users to be able to do things from day one. So GlobalSearch is allowing me to use key-free indexing and even database lookups. I can click a button and have it look up a list of suppliers or a list of purchase orders and data going that way as well. I can start to use it for HR out of the box, utilizing stuff like named searches and other bits and pieces. I can print PDF contracts or documents straight into it off of my base documents, and I can start to integrate and search for using data from other systems straight into GlobalSearch. And at this point, I have done nothing other than install or turn on a SaaS version of GlobalSearch. I haven't needed all 4 categories. I've got this kind of business value with that type of speed. And in terms of how quick this actually is, guys, this whole thing, see this quick start button on me, and there's my administrator here. So let's just do this. Okay, let's call this the webinar 1. There we are. Don't need to go through this, but you can see here it is. I'm going to, I'm just going to have accounts payable today. Let's continue with that. All right, I'm not going to do any of this piece. I just want to give you an idea in terms of the speeding, pace of this thing. This is a thing called the Square 9 Service Delivery Network. There we go. That's been finished. Now, when I go back to GlobalSearch, I now have an accounts payable archive. Brand spanking new, no documents in it, created live and direct in front of you. And this is how fast. And actually, just because we can, let's actually index a document into my brand new Square 9 instance that I created live in front of you in less than a minute. Turn on my key-free indexing. Got some lesser fields in here. Our version of it is called Business Essentials. Business Engines. They call this Business Essentials. But you can see a brand new instance within a matter of seconds. There we go. Let's put a total amount in there. And I'm going to put some invoice numbers in. Groovy. Document saved. That's how fast GlobalSearch can get your customers up and running. Okay, really, really quick. I think that's pretty cool.